Neetu cleared PMP from Canada, and what a success journey it was. So last 2 weeks back, or I guess 3 weeks back, she said that I will be traveling back to India in few days. I want to get it done before that. Is it possible? We discussed it. We made a fast track plan, and I asked her. It only depends on one thing, and she asked, "What is that?" I said, "You." You have to work hard. I can give you all the plans. I can give you every single thing, but you need to do. I also want to add something here. She's the only one. She's actually among the first few people who bought Pathway to PMP, and she told me like 3 days back, I have read it cover to cover 2 times, and she loved it. So thank you first of all for that. So why don't you first tell me why did you read it and how did you find it? Then we'll talk about the exam.
Yeah, so basically, I joined with Amir in July 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and then I completed my course. But later, there was some circumstance, some personal things I had to, just break off. So when I started doing it again, I thought it was completely gone out of my mind. Like I didn't remember anything about PMP because I had taken a long break. So that is why I can say used to say like consistency is the key, and I believe that when I was not consistent, I didn't remember anything. So I remember once you got your book into market and you told me it's MVP, and I'm like, okay. So I still remember you said it's gonna be improving, but if you want still, because you're not keeping well, you can just take some time out of your schedule and then just give some time and start brushing up what you had done earlier along with my videos. So I started reading the book again, and then I made my mind maps again. I can say I have bunch of papers. I can show you. I have a front here, your book. This is my study table, and I have all my mind maps and notes all here, because this is what I studied before I went to my exam. uh, just one thing, like couple of hours I was sitting with my mind maps and book. I actually didn't do any of the questions or random mocks or any of mocks before 2 days of my exam. I was thinking just brushing up my skills and knowledge what I studied with your book. So I would like to congratulate you for such a masterpiece, your book, which I actually read a couple of times to get the clear knowledge of the skills. And then obviously your mocks are very helpful.
Okay, okay. Let's talk about the exam today. So now you see, you are the third PMP in last 24 hours, and a very fascinating thing. You said that the exam was easy. I was recording the journey of Abdul Salam in the morning. He said that exam was so hard that the random mocks, if they were not there, I would have been jeopardized. But when you are saying it, so can you get into that? How you felt it?
Yeah.
Why the exam was easy? Yeah.
So I thought the exam was quite easy as compared to mocks that I have already done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the mocks questions are like they were good enough, like three or four liners. So I thought same would happen in the exam, and I could expect 5 to 6 liners. But when I started doing exam, I kept in my mind your pattern of say 80, 75, 75. I wrote the first thing on my paper. I still remember 80, 75, 75. Like if I exceed 80 minutes for my first part, I would quickly solve the questions and go towards the second part, and I will make sure to take the breaks. So when I started doing it, I didn't see the time, and in 55 minutes I had already completed 60 questions first set. I took my break, I came back, and the second set was again done uh, in less than 60 minutes. I had 102 minutes left for the third section of 60 questions. And once I completed my exam, I saw that I had 45 minutes left. So I was wondering, why have I finished so early? Is there something wrong? I went back and reviewed couple of questions. I am the believer, like when I used to do my RCA, I found most of the times when I go back and check my answers, I used to get those wrong because of rethinking or over analysis. So I made it a point I would not go back to any of the questions. I would continue with my pace. and I'm very quick, skimming and scanning technique and looking into the keywords, as you said during your coaching calls. So I was looking into keywords, whether they have the scenarios of new PM joining, or past reference or something like that. And I was just quickly skimming, scanning, looking at the options. So what I found is like two options which is very similar, near to each other, but one keyword would make the difference between those answers. So that is how I followed, and I was actually having 45 minutes left. I was already completed with my exam. I just clicked somehow. I didn't even complete my survey because I was getting so nervous. Why did I finish 45 minutes earlier? And I came back and I got the paper. I was like, congratulations. And I was like, okay, I'm done with my exam.
So
So
yeah,
that was my overall experience.
yeah. So you were like, okay, whatever is there, I did something right.
Yeah. I didn't have the patience to wait for those 45 minutes. I just somehow, 15 minutes I could manage. But anyways, I came out 25 minutes before of my schedule, and the examiner was like the person was sitting outside. They just printed the paper, and I quickly saw, I was not able to read because I was in front of screen, and I had some problem, like continuously very dark room, and then some
Mhm.
problem with the screen. So I was feeling a bit dizzy. I told him I am not able to look at the paper. I just saw first thing, congratulations. I was happy. I was like, okay, I've passed it.
Yeah, okay. So let's take it a little bit further. So, okay, time management is one thing, and of course, that is something that you kind of dominated in the exam. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about comparison with the exams in when you were giving exam at home, when you were giving exam random mocks. So, were you having the same thing about the time management, same thing or different?
Yeah, when I was doing random mocks, I checked with my other colleagues, like the other people the members of PMP group. So they were saying they used to complete in 70-75 minutes. I saw that I used to complete the random mocks as well in 60 minutes, like 60 to 65
Hmm.
minutes was
Okay.
max for random mocks. And same thing happened in exam. I don't
Hmm.
know. I have that technique of going very fast with the questions, just picking up those words and then
Mhm.
picking the answer. And I don't go back because I reanalyze a lot then.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same thing. It all depends to every single person. For example,
Yeah.
yeah, I was giving my driving test 2 weeks back. I completed the entire 50 question in 13 minutes, and when my wife gave, she actually took like 1 hour, same 50 question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it
So
all
it's
depends.
a
Yeah,
technique like how you read and
no,
how you catch the
I would
question.
I also say that like today I spent 2 hours reading book. I was reading Richard
Hmm.
Branson autobiography part two. So I like spent 2 hours, and then you are the person who read my book cover to cover 2 times. I don't know anyone. So which shows you're a book reader, right? Which shows you're
Yeah,
a
I
book
do.
reader.
Yeah.
So of
Yeah.
course, by reading, any skills that you work on, it get increase, increase, and increase. So I've
Yeah.
put it in that context for everyone. And 99, the reason why I did not wrote book 4 years back and why I wrote it, like before when I gave it to you, I gave you the minimum viable product. Why I wrote this? People like you, there are 1% people who love to read book. So I want to also share with them. Otherwise, 99% people never read book,
Yeah,
right?
I
Yeah,
enjoyed reading it. And
yeah,
I told you day
yeah,
before my exam, I told you should
yeah.
declare this book as one step process for your exam. Before your exam, maybe, the guides that we used to read back in home when we had our exams, the student passing syndrome kind of thing. So I used your book that way.
Okay, okay. So let's talk about a little bit more about the exam. Let's talk about a little bit about more of the exam. How any critical path question, any formula question.
Yeah, I had two formula questions,
Mm-hmm.
but they were not direct, a bit indirect, like complete information about SP and CPI were not given, but they were easy, not that difficult. And I had a kind of graph, not actually graph, I had a X and Y axis,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a graph of point 0.2, point 0.4, point 0.6, point 0.8, and there was a line where they have said SPI and CPI are above and below. So what
Mm-hmm.
does this say? Like we used to have CPI less than one and SPI less than one or more than one. What does that mean? So that
Hmm.
that was the question. So yeah, pretty much that was the mathematical part.
Hmm. Okay, that's good. That's really good. And which topics were more dominant in the exam?
I had hybrid. I had teams. Teams were dominant. I didn't had
Teams.
much of stakeholder.
So if we
Yeah.
talk about teams, was it more virtual teams or as a conflict management or motivational theories? Which part of the
Yeah.
teams were
There were no virtual question. Virtual
mm,
question.
motivational
It was
theories?
yes. It was mostly of conflicts.
Yeah, so
So
that's a good thing. Last coaching call we did uh,
yeah.
on Monday, it was conflict management entirely.
Yeah, mostly it was conflict, and
Mm.
I had a drag and drop of Tuckman ladder. It was
Ooh,
actual
cool.
completely with the stages
Mm,
of team, and the description were there, and I had to just drag and put which definition is for which term. That
mm.
was fun.
Okay, okay, that is awesome. Okay, let's say, my friend, you are starting on your day one. Today is your day one of exam preparation, and Neetu is saying that she have to clear in 6 weeks. What three, four advice you will give to Neetu, your younger self, that do this, do that, so that you can
So
clear it.
yeah, I restarted on 18th of Jan and 5th March I had my PMP. So what I did is like I read your book already first time. I
Mm,
made my mind maps. I
mm,
had your videos that you provided after our class.
mm,
So I utilized my notes, mind
mm,
maps just to refresh if I was going wrong with my random questions and other mocks.
mm,
I went back where I was going wrong.
mm,
RCA is very much important and consistency
mm,
because I know I had hard time coming back day
mm,
one from scratch. So if I had continued in July, I would have got my PMP within 2 months. I had to
mm,
come back in Jan. Obviously, I had some personal commitments. I came back in Jan and I did actually in 1.5 months. So I said, I think the mind maps, uh, clarification of your concepts is very much important. You cannot blindly answer the questions. At least you should have basic knowledge of what the question says and how your options are driving. So I think your book helped me to get those concepts more clear.
mm,
So a newer version of me would have been more consistent, I can say. And I know you had to follow up and push me a lot. That helped me coming back on track in January.
mm.
So I'm
Yeah.
thankful for your
I
follow up.
also I also would like to give a heads up to a guy who asked also he asked me like 2 times what is your status. So that is something I really loved on it. And yeah, so Vivek actually asked me 2 3 times
Yeah.
how she's doing. So that is something I really
I
like.
used to be in touch with him because we were in EST time zone.
Mm,
So I used to touch base with him, and I used to get afraid. It's like easy to reach out to him and tell him like I'm feeling down today. My scores are not going well. He would be like, go back into your RCA. There's no second time to it to go back and don't fall back. He said, don't fall back. If you stop now, you'll have to start from the scratch. So the fear of losing it again and going back to scratch was very difficult. And I was like, no, I don't want to go back to day one again. And
mm,
and it's very difficult to start. But once you start, it's easy to keep pace. So I would say not to lose that connect
mm,
because that makes you fall back and again you are not you don't want to come back, you don't want to invest this much of time, but actually it takes time to reach a certain goal. So I have learned a hard lesson and I am like it has to be consistent if it is PMP.
mm. Okay, okay. So consistency is the name of the game. So
Yep.
interestingly, all women are in the this session when they came to listen to Sangeeta. You have any question or Sion? If you have any question, feel free to unmute yourself and you can ask her. She cleared her and she shared all the challenges that you had. Which mock were relevant or similar to the exam? Sangeeta is asking.
uh, I think random mocks were more relevant, and the ATP ones that Amir provided at the first the last week, when I booked my exam. So these two sets were more relevant, and they were very similar in a pattern of understanding, I can say. So if you have completed your 180 questions and 60, I think you have very good understanding with your basic concepts. And with ATP, you get more of the situational questions, and exam was completely situational. There was nothing direct, but the direct questions helped me to gain knowledge about basic foundation of PMP.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And we are extremely happy that you did it and you did it in a style. So thank you very much for joining the program. Thank you very much for walking it along the way. It was an honor to work with you and to guide you throughout the process.
Thank you,
So
Amir.
thank you very much. How many 180 mocks did you complete? She did, I guess, all the six
All, yes.
and
Yes.
random mocks, 11 random mocks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I even did 10 questions, 15
yeah,
questions, 30
yeah.
questions, 60
I
questions,
didn't I didn't
everything.
ask her, but she did it anyway. So
Yeah.
okay,
Whenever I used to get time, I used to not target like I'll do 60 or 30 or something. Whenever I used to get time, even 10, 15 minutes, I used to do one mock. So that is how I could, complete all the mocks.
okay. So thank you very much for this thing, and I wish you best of luck. And do send me your picture. I will put it on a thumbnail, and if you can make 10 questions of PMP for the PMP marathon, that will be great. Remember,
Sure.
each one is a mantra of the game.
Yeah.
Vivek lived it. Vivek lived it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the ball is in your court. Now it goes to you. Okay. So I hope you can do the same. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you, Amit. Bye bye.